In my previous video, I stated a scenario in which a native Canadian finds a water-molded pebble made of precious metal laying in a stream bed that he decides to use as a musket ball. He loads his musket with this, let's say it's a gold nugget, but he doesn't know what gold is. He just knows that it looks metallic and it works well in his musket. He wants to actually hunt a deer. He aims it at a deer. The deer runs off. He goes, oh well, next time. Later that day, he runs into a coureur de bois. These are French-speaking people who inhabit the bush, but they're not necessarily native. Often they're pure-blooded white people. Sometimes they're mixed bloods between native and Europeans. They speak French. They generally have closer contacts with civilization than the natives do. A quarrel breaks out. There's a fight, a fist fight. The native guy gets the better of the coureur de bois. The coureur de bois runs off, and sort of half-heartedly, at the end of the fight, the native guy picks up his musket and fires it more or less randomly in the general direction of the coureur de bois. He's too far away to do any serious harm, but he gets struck in the buttocks, in his right buttock, with this silver nugget, or gold nugget rather. Ah, Christa mozibulatos di tabarnak! He doesn't like the fact that he's been shot. But it's not a deadly wound. The velocity has been reduced by the amount of space that this new musket ball has had to travel. Cursing, our coureur de bois gets into his canoe, heads off to the nearest Hudson's Bay Company post, or the nearest outpost of civilization, quote unquote again. And he gets the barber there, who has some experience in this, to extract this blasted musket ball that's lodged in his butt. Well, the guy gets out his tongs, probes for it, pulls it out, washes it off and says, see? And all of a sudden, he sees it's a gold nugget. And suddenly the coureur de bois doesn't mind that he's been shot anymore. Because before it had been that Christa maudit boulette in his butt, but now what that musket ball is a big house, servants, and more women than his anatomy can cope with. Now you can imagine the twists and turns that this musket ball, or this gold nugget, or this random bit of some element that for whatever reason humans attach value to, is going to go through after that. It may end up being used to purchase some other item. It may be used to go out among the natives and say, where did you get this? Show me where you got this. I'll give you anything. I'll give you this great big musket if you want. If you do that, I'll give you all kinds of stuff because I want to see where this came from. I want more of these. So this has become something of a catalyst for social change, for a change in the demographics of the region, because a bunch of people are going to suddenly show up there and start looking around insanely trying to find more of these. This might go back to Europe. It might end up in the offices of a London mining company to get this company to finance a mine or some other way of extracting the gold. So it's now a sample. First it was a pebble, then it was a musket ball, then it was an annoyance that had to be extracted from someone's body, then it was a catalyst for social change, and now it's a sample. Somebody is showing a guy in London, look how much potential there is here. They're using these bloody things as musket balls. That's how much gold there is in Canada, in the wilderness. So now this is a topic of conversation among sophisticated business people on the other side of the planet. Again, throughout the twists and turns of history, this thing, with any luck, will ultimately end up in a museum somewhere saying, this dumb little bit of gold, which has enough value, but in the grand scheme of things it's not that big, is what started off this gigantic change and this huge chain of events, which in some ways I suppose maybe still be going on to that day, if there's a large gold mine now in the vicinity of where that native guy just found that round lump of gold. But even now, when you look at that lump of gold sitting behind the glass in the museum in Ottawa, it's still almost identical to the bit of metal that our hypothetical Aboriginal Canadian fished out of the stream with his hands so long ago. But it has become many different things. It has evoked many different reactions from people when they saw the same thing. Again, that's Maya. And that is a fairly obvious example, and even somewhat crude example of that tendency. But one could say that anything that exists in the material universe goes through a stage of becoming in the very same way as that lump of gold does. That's Maya. Because the human mind's reaction to something changes, it itself changes, or apparently changes. Maya alters something that is not altered at all. Thank you.